Good morning. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I saw a couple heads jump, so I apologize. First of all, thanks for coming to this session. Curious, show of hands, how many of you were in yesterday's session? All right, cool. All right, a few. So, I'm the director of retail and consumer goods here at Tableau, and we wanted to have a retail power hour session to show some leading, kind of bleeding edge things, some things that you haven't seen before, particularly out of Tableau. And so we've got some pretty interesting things. We're going to do a quick demo of those that we showed yesterday, just so you can get some context of what was showed. And then we'll actually show the actual code to create some of the applications that we have. And just to give a quick recap from yesterday, we actually had Manthan and another great partner, Automated Insights, that created a mobile application, had Tableau embedded inside the application using the mobile app bootstrap, using the GetData API, being able to send that data in real time to Automated Insights, Wordsmith API, and it processes natural language generation in real time, and then we use the voice on the device to read that out loud. We also then showed Strata, another partner of ours, showed the JavaScript API and being able to use that in augmented reality situations. And then last but not least, a great customer, Wayfair, showed the extensions API that was demonstrated during the keynote and their inventory management system where finally we have right back in Tableau and be able to have custom applications. I used to be a customer of Tableau and we were begging for this about 5 or 6 years ago. So very excited about that. So we're going to show the GetData API and the Wordsmith API, the JavaScript API within the augmented reality, and then Nathan from Wayfair will jump into the extensions API. Okay? All right. With that, I'll turn it over to John.
Is this, okay, good. Okay, so let me just flip over and, okay. All right, so thanks everyone for coming. Automated Insights, we're a technology partner of Tableau. Jeff mentioned that along with Manthan, who is another Tableau partner, we built a mobile app. The idea here is within the retail space, if you're a store manager, a regional manager, you might be traveling around, and we want to give you the ability to really quickly get information about a given retail location. So I'm going to flip over and I'll show you the application. Sorry. All right. Okay. All right, so this is our mobile application. Manthan built the Tableau visualization. It's all embedded. They use the Cordova mobile bootstrap framework that kind of eases the process of developing something like this on iOS. So they took this Tableau visualization that details a lot of retail metrics, and what they wanted to do is give managers a really quick way to sort of get the highlights, the key takeaways out of this. So they reached out to us, and behind the scenes what they're doing is they're taking the data that exists in this dashboard, sending it to us, and we turn it into language and return it back. So you'll notice when the dashboard is loaded, you get this little button down here, and if you click it, we provide you some bullets that point out things like what is your top store, current sales, sort of the key metrics and takeaways, but presented in a totally consumable way, just the written word. And we went one step further. Nice thing about mobile apps is you have access to these cool text-to-speech engines. So I can provide you these bullets, but I can also provide you sort of a quick voice summary as well. And hopefully this will be loud enough. I don't know if we hooked up the audio here, but let's give it a go.
The region has current sales of $12.3 million. We predict that you will underperform your sales plan. Your top store is Tucson Mall. With respect to sales, bedroom solutions is the top category in the region. There are currently 701 out-of-stock SKUs.
SKUs, yeah. Text-to-speech, maybe not retail optimized yet, but we can talk to Apple about that. I've seen them walking around here. So, but yeah, the idea here is if you're on the go, maybe you're traveling a lot, you're visiting these retail locations. If you arrive at a location you want sort of a thorough summary, you can read through this sort of bulleted version. But if you're on the go, if you're in your car, you just have an easy way to get a quick update on the region, the store, whatever information you're looking for. And it's all done on the fly. So when the dashboard loads, it sends us the data, we generate the text, send it back. It's just milliseconds to get it all. So I'm going to flip back over to the laptop. Okay. And I'll walk through some code examples here. I thought it might be beneficial to just sort of explain how we at Automated Insights work with Tableau. So what you have here on the left is a Tableau viz, along with some narrative along the left-hand side. So we can use the GetData API to publish alongside a dashboard. If you were at the keynote, you saw the announcement of the extensions API, and Nathan will walk you through some of that in more detail. What's cool about the extensions API is we don't have to publish beside the dashboard. We can actually now publish as part of the dashboard, which is something that we've been asking Tableau for about a year. Like literally as soon as they launched the ability to publish next to it, we asked them to publish in the dashboard. So using the GetData and JavaScript API, when the visualization loads, we take that data, we pull it out, we pass it to Wordsmith, which is our platform, and then we're sending narrative back. Since NLG is pretty new, I thought it'd be good to just sort of walk through a way too simple primer on how this works, how to think about it. So if you think about the sentence sales rose quarter over quarter, you need a couple of attributes in order to write that sentence dynamically. You need the current sales and the previous sales. So each time you pass this to us, we'll look at current sales and previous sales, and we'll return the correct sentence. Like, did it rise? Did it fall? Did it stay the same? So again, this is a super, super simplistic version. It is a deterministic approach, so it only writes things that you have told it to write. You don't have to worry about it sort of becoming sentient and writing crazy things. And we, so just to sort of expand on how complex this can be, and again, this is a very, very simplistic version. We also do baseball game recaps using this structure. So it's not limiting. It's you can get a very, very complex narrative out of here. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the JavaScript API. So this is some code that I wrote. I'm actually a Python guy. I apologize. I begrudgingly write JavaScript. But it is a testament to the API that I am able to use it. So the JavaScript API, the way that this works is you're generally going to set event listeners using the JavaScript API. The first box that you see here, and I don't know why the formatting is a little wonky. Those arrows are supposed to align with the bullets, but it is what it is. So the first box up top, this is an event that basically tells the application, hey, the viz is loaded, it's ready. You can get the data out of it now. So obviously we need to wait until the whole thing loads, and then we can start working with it. Underneath that is where we're adding an event listener, and it's really easy. This is all sort of baked into the API package that you get from Tableau. Super easy to set an event listener for things like listen for a tab switch, listen for a mark being selected, listen for a parameter change. That's all really simple to do. And so in this case, I'm listening for a tab change, and then I'm calling this function enable chat. And I'll show you what all of this does at the end here. Okay, so what we want, at least in my case, is to get data out of Tableau. So given a certain event, I want to pull the data out, I want to send it to my platform, get the language back. The way that Tableau allows you access to the data, a lot of the framework, in fact, uses JavaScript promises. So promises, if you're familiar with JavaScript, this is a way to asynchronously access data from Tableau. So basically, I tell Tableau, I would like this data from this worksheet. It will process that in the background, and then when it is all prepared, it sends it over. Generally, as far as timing, I would say that takes less than, I mean, it's like milliseconds, basically. I mean, I've never seen it take even a second to get it all back to you. I actually have a little library that is helpful to me. The way that Tableau returns data as part of the JavaScript API, it's very like, it's like an object-oriented model of the data that exists underneath. I really want more sort of like a tabular representation of the data, so that's what this little transform data library is. Okay. All right, so once I have the data, I want to send that to a back-end process. This is where I do a lot of the processing to pass it along to my platform. And this is Python, so I'm a lot more comfortable talking about this. But basically, like I said, when I showed that slide about how NLG works at a very high level, I really want to build a set of attributes that power my narrative. And so that's what this represents here, right? So I'm actually looking at category information here. So I want to get the name of the category, how many categories are there, how many are in the worst 10 categories, and this will all hopefully make sense when I show you the full composed example here. But I want to take this tabular data set and distill it into a list of attributes that power the narrative that I'm going to return. Okay, so once I have my list of attributes, I'm just going to make a standard post call to our API. And I did actually remember to remove my API key from the presentation. That's a rarity for me. My old API keys are littered about the world of presentations. So I'm going to send the data that I have to Wordsmith, just a standard post request. What Wordsmith is going to send back is JSON that contains the narrative based upon that set of attributes that I've generated. Okay, so I know we've gone through quite a bit here. At this point, we can take a look at an actual example to make sense of all of this fun stuff. All right, so you remember the first event listener that I pointed to was a tab switch event. So basically here, I have a Tableau visualization embedded on the right, and on the left, I have a little chat box. The chat box is currently disabled, so I can't do anything with it. The reason is I want to wait until the user is actually on the dashboard rather than this sort of descriptive page. So I listen for the tab switch. So Tableau will go, it will pull in the dashboard if the Wi-Fi cooperates. There we go. And now my chat box is enabled. That's that event listener for a tab switch, and now enable chat has happened. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit. Okay. All right, cool. So this is a inventory dashboard that was produced by Atheon. They're a retail partner of Tableau. The goal of this dashboard is basically to point out where you have problem areas in your inventory management and supply chain, I guess. I apologize. I'm a tech nerd, and I'm learning a lot about the retail space, so bear with me. But anyways, Atheon is really good at this stuff, and so they were kind enough to let me use their dashboard as a demonstration. So the goal here is I'm always interested in figuring out what are some new and unique ways to interact with Tableau. And I actually come from a world of quantitative finance prior to my technology life, and I built a lot of dashboards. People tend to ask the same questions about the dashboard every single time. So my question was, can we just ask the dashboard? I mean, why ask me? Just ask Tableau. So what I did is built this chat experience where you can see we have our inventory detailed by category, by supplier, by product, and so on and so forth. So if I want to figure out what is going on in the moose category, for example, I can just ask Tableau. So let's see. Tell me about moose. And so it goes out and it goes to the dashboard and it says, I want to know about the moose category. I get the data about the moose category, send it to Wordsmith, and Wordsmith sends back this natural language response. So now I know that moose is the second worst product category. The highest overall availability within that category is the kids' treats company, and so on and so forth. So again, just this nice sort of natural interaction. Similarly, I can ask about supplier. So give me a distribution update for, let's ask about local farm dairies down here. So local farm dairies. And so it tells me that, local farm dairies, it ranks among the top half of our distributors. They have a set of products that's reliably stocked and here are some that aren't, and so on and so forth. And this is all using that GetData API that the Tableau JavaScript framework, or the Tableau JavaScript API allows me to access. The same type of functionality is available in the mobile Bootstrap, the Cordova package. Manthan built that component, so I unfortunately don't have the code to show you, but it is pretty much the same as using the JavaScript API. So it does allow you this really cool opportunity to interact with Tableau in a really new and unique and different way. And I think that's really what we as developers should strive for. And then some of the cool stuff that Nathan will show you with the extensions API, I think takes that concept and just builds on it. It makes it even more interesting, more powerful, sort of more connected to the Tableau experience. So that is, let's see, flip back over. I'm pretty sure that's, okay, yeah, so we love APIs. Tableau loves APIs. As developers, bringing these two things together it just makes sense. I mean, you have access to all these cool third-party services. That chatbot actually uses another third-party service, not just the Wordsmith platform. When you type the query, I'm using api.ai to understand what does this mean, what does this person want. So think about cool ways that you can add some of that external data, external services into your Tableau deployments, because it's a really powerful tool to give your users just a new, a unique, and a very specific way of interacting with Tableau. So that's all I have. We're going to switch things up a little bit if we're still good on time. Okay. I actually have to run to a meeting shortly with Francois, who's the Chief Product Officer of Tableau. I couldn't say no to him, unfortunately. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If not, we're also down in the expo hall. If you think of something later, feel free to drop by and let me know. But if you have any questions now, I'm more than happy. Yes, sir?
You shape
So you definitely could save the thread of the discussion as like a session variable if you wanted to. It's a web application, so you have access to a lot of the same tools. For this example, this was sort of a prototype. Actually, what happened is I built a really ugly version of this and sent it to Jeff, and Jeff was like, "That's very cool. Can you do it with this nice dashboard?" And so I've been sort of prototyping and playing around with this just as a interactive way to talk to Tableau. Yeah. I can should be able to pull up one of those. Let's see. Let me just disconnect for a moment so I can get into my email here. Since I've been at Tableau conference, I haven't checked my email in like 5 days. I don't know what's in there. Are we? There we go.
Yeah, that actually created a very nice email summary, which takes the visualization and embeds it inside the email, and then the narrative, and it's really neat. It's very professional looking. So for them to be able to auto-generate that based upon where they're at within the visualization is pretty powerful.
Yeah. So this is. So this is what Jeff is referring to. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so in this case, I actually have a dashboard that you can filter the dashboard. You can set the date range. You can choose a sector of the S&P 500. This is all financial data. And then you can enter an email address, and it will sort of compose this nice sort of, I wanted it to look a little bit like an infographic, I guess. But it does it all dynamically. So if I click over, how do I get out of, oh, my Chrome is not going to let me. I don't have another window open. There we go. Okay. So if I click on the actual images, it'll take me into the dashboard itself. And this is just another way that we can interact with Tableau. This dashboard, just really quickly here, blow it up a little. You'll see that in the narrative that we're generating, there's some links. So if I click on energy, I can actually have the narrative talk to the dashboard and say, I want to see energy, show me more. And it will generate more specific analysis. You also have, Tableau is really cool, really good about giving us this powerful functionality so that we can actually teach people to use the dashboard, right? So I can tell you in text the best 30-day stretches from so on and from this date to this date, but I can also just call it out on the dashboard itself. So this is all functionality that's in the GetData API, or in the JavaScript API. So there's a world of possibilities of cool ways to interact with Tableau as developers. And they've done a really nice job of packaging it up in a package that, even for someone who is not really great at JavaScript, I'm actually able to create some pretty neat things that give our clients and customers a new view of their data, just allows them to interact with it in a whole unique way. Yeah, so this is deployed to a web server. Right now, the JavaScript API requires that it runs against an embedded Tableau visualization. So the natural spot to do that is with a web app. That switches up a little bit, and I won't steal any of Nathan's thunder because I suspect he'll talk through how all that works with the extensions API. But yeah, to use a JavaScript API, generally you're going to embed.
That's why Tableau opening up the extensions API makes this type of integration very, very quick.
Yeah. Okay. All right, great. Well, thank you, everyone. Again, if anything comes up, feel free to drop by. We're downstairs. We'll be there until, I think, 3 today. And yeah, I appreciate you coming by. And I will turn it over to John, I believe. Yep. All right, from one John to another.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
You guys can all move up if you want, all 6 of you. I'm John Wright from Strata. Hello. Make sure you're all awake. So we're going to show a bunch of examples of augmented reality apps, and then I'm going to show you some of the code behind it. So I'm going to launch right in. One of the first ones that we've got allows us to look at a product. In this case, Jeff and I traveled to Monterrey, Mexico, and met with a client down there that wanted to see some cool things, and so I'm going to show you right now an extra. If I had an extra box here, I can take that extra box and just point my AR app. You can see yourself out there. Wave to yourself. There you go. Make sure you guys stay awake. So as I come over to the extra box, I can come on there and see live Tableau data on top of the extra box. So the cool thing about augmented reality is we've gotten to the point now that we can now read not only shapes but text and be able to launch live data directly onto things like that. You can also take the same thing and come into an app right here. In fact, if you have how many iPhones, how many Androids? 50-50, that's what it is. So either one, if you just point your phone at this banner over here, you'll see that it changes from this is a boring banner to this is a burning banner, and Tableau's on fire. So you can do your own AR by just pointing to that QR code, loading the StrataLink app on your phone, either Android or iOS, and get this. The new iOS 11, for those of you that have it, can actually read. I'll just show you. Most people don't know this, that when it was launched, something revolutionary happened at Apple. They included into their photo reader the ability for you to get a QR code directly into Apple. So without being coders, we can now go into the App Store, and just by having QR for retail, for the first time since Apple has been around for 10 years, you no longer need a QR app or a QR reader on your phone. It goes directly to a store, and you can download that and run it. So StrataLink is for you to play around with during the show. I'll show you a couple other things that it does. One of the things that it's capable of doing is that you can pick a marker. Let's say this smart water that we have here, or retail UPC, or anything you want, and you can pick the marker that you want and hit trigger, and that'll create a trigger for that particular content that you want. Then you can pick some content that you want, or upload it from a YouTube video or a URL or Tableau data, and pick those two things. Let's just pick some solar array data here. Hit confirm here, and now if I come over the top of this smart water, it'll launch, if it's light enough, that content and be able to play that content over there. And the sound's not on, but so what that allows you to do is pick triggers and content, match those two worlds together. The world of AR are going to give you more and more tools for this. Of course, Apple only announced the AR kit just 3 weeks ago, so it's just very, very new and developing for that. One of the other things that we've got is let's switch to multiple things here. Just a second. So right now, one of our customers in Utah is sending about 10,000 people through a tour of their $90 million facilities. And so they come in and download an app called New Skin Tour. And that app allows them to come in and get a tour of the facilities. Let me just getting started here. Sound isn't working on this, so he's telling you how wonderful we are for building this and how great the app is and how it works in 5 different languages, and he's really thrilled and loved paying us the $60,000 to build this. And so what it does is it allows you to go into the app. Once you load it, you can pick a language here in 5 different languages. We'll pick English because I'm assuming that's what we'd like. And you go through a facility. You can see that there's facility here. And there's about 10 different stops in this facility. One of the first stops is this fountain that has a big trapezoid over the top. If you hover your phone over the top of that, you get a world that shows up over that fountain in augmented reality. And I can come and go around and look at which part of the world I just came from, kind of get a sense that there's a holographic world above this cool fountain. Each one of these stops have different capabilities. This one launches the chief scientist. You get kind of a Princess Leia effect here. He talks about how cool their product is and how everyone ought to buy it. If you do it 3 times, it actually launches what we refer to as an Easter egg, and it allows them to come up and says, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope," la da 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 da. Laughter, there you go. Okay, so they love that, okay? Then we go, this is a big, gigantic wall that's one of the largest displays in the country. It's 50 feet wide, and it's on the bottom, and on the top, of course, they don't have one, so they put this 10-foot marker up there, and in this case, you can position your phone over the top of this and have it show content in that. It's streaming just a little bit slow, but that shows content going through and launches video on top of that wall. Pretty cool. This is all different functions of augmented reality. You can also see these big posters up above here. If you hover over the top of the poster as you're walking through, that launches the content and does the same thing that the banner's doing over here. I believe in a few short months we're going to see this capability in every retail application that you have, because it's simple to use. You don't have to change it. There's lots of things going on there. Each one of these tours give us different things that we can do. And of course, what you notice as I go through this is everything I do on my phone can be stored as a data point for us to look at analytics, coming back and seeing it. This is what we call the Harry Potter effect, which allows you to launch live video on a static wall, and again, be able to turn. So you can imagine what store displays of the future are going to look like. You start thinking about a room or a store, and now everything can be augmented so that somebody can have a different experience than what you've actually given them as they walk into the store. You can also do product demos. This one sits on a table, and so in this case, Nu Skin's got a new product that's a facial scrubber. You can see that if it was on a tabletop, I can go around, I can actually look inside of it, I can see parts, I can also push the button in the front and have this product show how it actually works. So this started out as a 300,000 polygon STL file from CAD, and it's now fully operational on an iPhone 7 running. That's not just fake, that's 3D model actually rotating in 3D right there. So it's not, for the first time, we're actually to a point where we don't have any issues with processing speed. Again, the same thing, all of this is producing hundreds and hundreds of data points through this process. And another banner, you can have the president of the company stand up and actually feel like you're there. And the other nice thing is you can come up next to it and push a record button here, so you could stand next to this, push a record the process that I'm doing here, say, oh, look at this little guy right here, I'm really making a cool video, press stop, come back to my phone and launch that same video back and share it with all of my friends. So we're also watching where this is pushing and how it's going around the world. This app we launched 2 days ago. It's already got 20,000 downloads in 500 different locations around the world, just from the 2,000 people that have come through a tour so far. So let's look at some of the data for that. Push my button. Come over here. The process that we go through for each of these different data points is to try to get to a point where we can look at live data. And Tableau is actually a very good resource for being able to transfer the way we built this is to take our traditional reports that might come out of Google Analytics, for instance, have those pushed to an SQL database that receives the live data from Google Analytics. And this is actually running through right now. See if we can find anybody that's, the tour I don't think is going on right now, so we don't have any live data. So yesterday there was about 100 people that were going through. I think the tour starts at 1 o'clock, so. But you can see where, there we go, there's a third that just came aboard. They come dancing along here. There they pop up somewhere in the world, okay? Each one of these data points then are passed to, through an API directly into our SQL database on AWS, and so that is our repository. Then we can also get some of our Unity analytics, which is the code that we're doing here, and you can see the user logins for Unity. That's the app platform that we're using is called Unity. And so it's a game engine. Unity allows us to then write an API directly from there back into Tableau, and now we can get real-time data in Tableau and start building graphs and charts in Tableau that can show, for instance, the real-time data points of each one of these different things that we want to see. So in this case, you can see different devices. Here's the Apple devices over the last hour. So each one of these, there's 44 events that have been triggered through the tour of people that are going through the tour right there on Apple. This is a Huawei here, there's a Kyocera, there's a Samsung right here. It looks like we're growing in Samsung data right now. You get the idea, there's a Sony, somebody popped in. So each one of these data points allow us to be able to see what's going on for the app analytics that we're doing. This is a fun one that I've been looking at right here, which gives us the view of each city and country that these people are coming from. So this is live. Somebody from Austria, Vienna, was on at 10:38 a.m., only used it for about 10 minutes. And so each one of these show the length of time that each of these people from different parts of the country have come in and do various different things. Here's somebody from Mexico. Here's someone from Pakistan. Here's a bunch of people from South Korea and from Seoul. So you can see, again, I believe that Tableau is a fabulous tool for being able to take those accumulated data points and actually make it so that these graphs can be manipulated by a client. So we are a reseller of Tableau, and we sell Tableau to our client, let them use the endpoint of this as part of the application that they're doing. Some of the details of this, let me walk through some slides on some of the details. So let me go full view here. View, present. Okay. So each one of these show some of the output that we get from Tableau. The JavaScript API is fairly simple. Luckily, we like APIs that are simple. We just have to connect it to our AWS servers and have it be a direct visual object into that data script that we're after. We can do a JavaScript embed, so the graphics that you saw for the Mexico data that we had can actually be live data through the API, so that we can put the visualization in such a way that we can see it in augmented reality. So our Unity 5.6 apps are using all sorts of things to be able to do that, but it ends up giving us a Tableau data source and connects to the database. One of the things that Google's given us is a very nice API for getting data out of them. They don't provide very good real-time data. I don't know if you've done analytics before, but you only get 24 hours to be able to see the data unless you use their API. If you're using the API, you can get near real-time statistics out of Google Analytics. That's what we think is kind of special here, is that if we didn't have Unity API, Tableau API, and Google Analytics API, we'd be stuck with not being able to see the data you just saw. With the Analytics real-time dashboard, we're able to then see what's going on at the moment. And the important thing when we build these AR apps is that we can make real-time changes to the app based upon what the community is doing. So if we see a number of people looking at one particular piece of content, we could actually use the analytics to change the content for the app that's being done. That's going to be fairly revolutionary, is to have that circle of, especially in a retail store, where you have a special, for instance, on an aisle, somebody wants to see cornflakes on sale, somebody's doing quite a bit of AR on those cornflakes aisles. You can change that to make it so that the other people that are seeing something else can be driven to that sale aisle item that they want. So we think that we can do directional retail stuff as the first time to be able to do that. We build a query, we do all sorts of metrics on being able to pull that out. We do have some limitations and quotas that we're working with Tableau on. Some of these limits are from Google, some are from Unity, and some are from Tableau. So we have to go through and be aware that we could max out some of these limits. And if we do, then we have to find workarounds for the limits that we do. We go through some, each of the implementation details. We get all sorts of data from that. And we're getting sample code for the processing requests that are going out to the query. In Unity itself, this is where you saw us positioning the iPhone with the graphics on top of the iPhone. So we come in here and set an object and then move the Tableau data over the top of that object and then set that code so that it's bringing real-time data in as you're viewing it. You can see that real-time data. We have several Unity examples of doing that. Again, it's not hard, it's just small code, but it's smart code. So all of the stuff we're doing, we haven't found anyone else to do it yet, so we're kind of building it for the first time. We'd love to copy somebody else, but we haven't been able to yet. Unity samples, this Tableau web view allows us to do great things with Tableau for being able to set just URLs, and that makes it so that it makes it very universal for being able to set your own. The app, if you download it off of this, you can actually set your own URLs and do your own thing with your own app the way that it's built. And of course, we've got iOS, and Android has to be natively coded. We don't have any platform that we can use that is universal between those two platforms. So we're building it both in iOS and in Android, and Unity gives us some of the functions that we need to be able to publish to Android. Once we get that, we can then do in Unity testing, so that on the desktop we can actually try out some of this visualization and make sure that it's working. And there's a whole bunch of additional reading that you can do. Thank you. Questions now or later? What do you want to do, Jeff?
Take questions.
If you got any, come on. Fire away. Ask me a hard one. Ask me an easy one. Who's ever done AR before? Not a soul. Yes? Yes? Okay. Augmented or something like that?
I don't remember the application now, but I of course worked in back in school, the class that they are.
Okay. Yeah, we're still finding, applications. This year we've been showing this to over 600 Fortune 500 companies, and they're still just doing it for the first time, so we know it's new. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.